Okay, so I've just finished training back. Today's session, I took the back and pulled it apart into different sections. We started low, gradually worked my way up towards the mid upper lats, and then gradually pulled everything in towards the mid back to finish off. Now for me, and I guess for most body parts, this is how I like to attack things, in different sections. I think it's really important for a muscle group that's so complex like back, where it is about hitting it from so many different angles, and it becomes so easy to just grab a ton of exercises, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I think what is a better approach is to take some thought at the start of the workout and think sequentially, what do I want to be hitting? What are my training goals? What are my goals in terms of growth and adding on size? And I think one thing that people don't really think about is how does each section flow into each other? So I've found for me personally and for many of my athletes, starting low if it's a deficient area, starting low and then gradually working up seems to work a lot better. I've tried to work up and then down low, and I've found that once you get a huge pump through the upper back, it becomes very hard to shift that focus medially and lower. So for that reason, I usually do start low to begin with. So today's session was a moderate amount of volume, about 20 sets. This is one of my more standard ways to approach any kind of body part training for growth. I don't like to hit it with too many sets or too much volume. I don't like the idea of wasting effort when I don't need to. This is about stimulating the right areas, getting out and recovering. So there's a strong focus on using exercises here that allow for a degree of progressive overload in terms of pure strength gains. I'm using exercises that put me into a good position where my leverages allow for strength progression over time. So let's get stuck into today's workout. Okay, starting off with one of my more standard upper body activation drills for creating more scapular stability. Going through I guess you could call it a rear delt or upper back fly on the cables, keeping my palms facing forward and focusing the work through the entire upper back and the external rotators, especially the infraspinatus teres minor. Those are the two regions that I like to hit a lot at the start of most upper body sessions, because those are the areas that usually are a little bit more dormant and that leave the shoulder capsule being a lot more unstable. Now that's something that a lot of people aren't looking into when it comes to upper body work, and then they're wondering why down the track they're getting all sorts of elbow issues or shoulder pain. It usually comes back to those weak links, usually infraspinatus, teres minor, rear delt, rhomboids, lower trap. It's these regions that I'm trying to hit with this cable exercise now, and you'll see me on this particular set going through a few different angles. It's these regions that if they're weak and you start trying to load up on the big heavy compound movements, you're going to create further instability at the shoulder joint or at the scapula, which will lead to a lot of pain down the road. So on this exercise here, I went through 3 or 4 sets, keeping the weight, as you can see, extremely light, and keeping the reps around 8 to 12 reps, something quite moderate, and just looking at creating some sort of activation and pre-pump and stability, most importantly, through the upper back, through the shoulder. I always start upper body work with something like this to get everything firing up. So from here, I went into some more specific work for the lats. As I said, this session is starting down low and then working back up towards the mid back and the upper lats. So that's the same thing I'm doing here. I'm starting with a stiff arm pull down, but centering the weight a little bit more on the lower lat by changing my foot position, by doing a slight degree of lateral flexion of the spine. It's a bit of a side bend or a crunch there. And you'll see here, I'm rotating my torso, so I am pulling in that plane of movement to really center the work on the mid-lower lats and medially towards the spine. This will carry over really well when it comes to my first primary exercise. But again, doing 3 to 4 sets here, keeping the weight very light and manageable, focusing on getting as much retraction, depression, and squeezing and compression of that lat as possible, particularly in the lower portions. Not looking at accruing any kind of fatigue here, just going through the motions, getting some blood moving, and creating that targeted effect where I want it through the lats. So after this, started off with my first primary exercise for the day, sternum pull downs and sternum chin-ups. Now normally I'd go straight into a sternum chin-up, but today I wanted to spend a bit more time warming up the lats and going through some more motions. So I started on the pull down to begin with for just about two to four sets with about 5 or 6 reps, gradually bumping up the weight. I love the sternum pull down for overall lat development, but especially lower lat. Just pay attention to the way here, how the cable lines up with my wrists, which lines up with my forearms and elbows, which lines up perfectly with that section on my lower lat that I want to be hitting, which you'll see right on this rep here. Bang, everything lines up smoothly. That's what we want to look at when it comes to any kind of training with back. It's all about lines of pull. It's all about putting your body into the positions that your lathe target different sections of the back to make sure you're not leaving any region unstimulated. Or if you are, then it's been intentionally done to avoid overdeveloping certain aspects of the back. So gradually worked up in weight on the sternum pull down, and then I transitioned over to some sternum chin-ups, which would allow me to use a little bit more leverage, a little bit more strength development over time. And the same cues apply, focusing on pulling my lower ribs, my sternum up towards the bar, keeping my hands, wrists, elbows all in a straight line, in line with the line of pull that I want to be hitting on my lats. From here, going over to a dumbbell row, single arm with a neutral grip. Again, I'm using exercises that allow me to use a lot of weight over time and build a lot of strength. You'll see on this, every rep is initiated from my lower lat, retracting and depressing that scapula, and then the arm and the shoulder just come along for the ride. It's lat, then arms. Lat, then arms. Look on the left side here for the setup. I'm starting with my hips back, but then I shift forwards right there. That's a really important thing, because the tendency will be to shift your weight backwards, which takes tension off the lats and to shift the center of mass further and further away from the target muscle. So what you want to do here is put your body into that position where your weight is shifted forward slightly to make sure your lat is directly over that weight that you're using to pull with on the rows. So as I did a few sets here, you'll see on this set, the movement is now being initiated more from the mid back and the upper lat. It's the shoulder moving first with the lats, and the lower lat isn't contributing as much to scapular depression or retraction. That was intentional. As the weight got heavier, I wanted to gradually shift the focus up towards my mid back and my upper lats. So it was 2 or 3 sets of the lower lat focused, and then gradually working up over another 2 or 3 sets as I got into the upper back. So onto the cable row here. Now we're looking at pure upper back isolation. Now that I've gone through the lower lat work, the mid back work with the heavier compounds, the upper back is something that's a little bit more of a lagging group for me. That's a bit harder to create tension in. So what I'm looking for here, as opposed to the first 2 exercises where I was hitting reps of around 6 to 10 at most, I'm looking at doing about sets of 30 here. I'm doing double drop sets and keeping the time under tension very, very long. I've found personally when it comes to the upper back, it responds best to a lot of volume, long time under tensions, and not letting the weight relax at all, not taking your body to a position that allows the upper back muscles to relax. So I'm intentionally on the cable row here, sitting very, very far forward on the machine. You'll see my feet are actually on the machine. They're not on the foot supports that are provided there. That's to get me in a very, very close position to not allow me to go through a full range of motion at the arm where I completely extend through the elbows. This helps to keep that tension and that range of motion limited through a specific range to hit the upper back. And you'll see on every rep here, I'm really focusing on initiating each pull with my shoulder blades. When we go to the rear view in a sec after this last drop set, you're gonna see what's happening at the upper back. When it comes to any training, the most important principle is the prime mover for the exercise, in most cases, will be the muscle that initiates the movement. So I'm making a real big conscious effort here to make sure that every rep is initiated with my upper back. So take a look here at the scapular motion. Everything retracts and pulls back, and then the arms pull back afterwards. The elbows drive back as far as I can, and I'm getting as much of a squeeze in my shoulder blades to complete that rep as possible. but that first millisecond, that first initial pull, it's coming from the mid-back. It's coming from the lower traps, the rhomboids, a little bit of lats, a bit of rear delt as well, and then the rest of the body comes along for the ride. You'll notice there's not much depression going on in terms of the scapula. My mid-lower lats, they're not being recruited so much. I'm not pulling my elbows back and down towards the rib cage. It's staying quite high in a fixed plane of motion to keep the work centered where I want it, which is through that upper back region. Now, one thing I didn't touch on before is, again, the cable setup here. Similar to the sternum pull-down, sternum chin-ups, I'm making sure the cables line up with the forearms and the elbows and the wrists and the exact region through my upper back that I want to be targeting. Very simple concept there that I think a lot of people are overlooking when it comes to choosing certain exercises or why you should position cables in particular regions. There's no specific special cable setup that's going to be perfect for all people. It's about understanding what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm trying to achieve cohesion with the cable, wrist, elbow, line of pull, and making sure that line of pull matches with whatever muscle or whatever region of that muscle I'm trying to target. So after the rows here, I moved on to back into the first exercise I was doing at the start of the workout. More of those rear delt cable flies for the upper back. You'll see the weight is still very, very light. At this point I was pretty toasted, but now with it being at the end of the workout as opposed to the start of the workout, that weight was plenty. I took the reps upwards to around 15 to 20 reps at this point, and really focusing on getting as much height as I can and pausing and elevating my scapula to really hit that mid-back region and controlling the eccentric. Went through, I think it was 3 sets here of around 15 reps, just to finish off and put the finishing touches onto the upper back. Now after this, moved on to a basic dumbbell pullover. I'm really focusing on the pullover on keeping my rib cage compressed and my abs flexed. You'll see on a couple of the reps here, as I pause on the bottom, I'm forcefully exhaling to compress my ribs down to make sure I'm not arching and hyperextending through the lumbar spine to create a false sense of range of motion. Everything here is going to be targeted on the lats. I don't want to see much extension from the lumbar spine. I want to be stretching out the serratus and the upper lats and a little bit of tricep as well. Putting my hands into this position helps put the elbows into a safe position to load things up and externally rotates the humerus just slightly to help target the weight on the lats without aggravating elbows or shoulders or pecs or anything else. Alright, that's back finished for today. A lot of chin-ups and a lot of rows. Nothing too fancy, but it's all about the way that we tweak the exercises to make sure that you're hitting your lats properly without bashing up your elbows and bashing up your shoulders, and that you're lining up the lines of pull properly to make sure you're working the section of the lat that you intend to work. So I hope you guys enjoy the workout. If you enjoy this sort of stuff and you want to see more of it, please do share it around. Please do let me know in the comment section, and feel free to subscribe to my channels and my social media. See you next time.